I couldn't imagine you hurting a fly.
No.
We're live, baby.
Hey, we live.
We in this bitch.
Case.
Cares None Beat Up Podcast. I am your host, Chris Cares None, and I'm with my co-host, Derek Fisher. What's up, baby?
Brother, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, man?
Very well.
You good?
Chilling like a villain.
Tom, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Life's good.
Looking good?
Out here on Monday, just starting the week off right.
True.
The last episode, you came in with a vibe. It was it was such a good vibe.
Oh, was it good?
Yeah.
Well, today's gonna be more melancholy, right?
Yeah.
I haven't had a good enough week yet,
Right.
Okay,
It's the first of the week.
Do you consider the beginning of the week on Monday, or like when is the beginning of the week?
Like a
Monday?
Sunday thing? Yeah, no, I think start of the week's Monday for me.
So do you look at Sunday as the end of the week?
Yeah, I suppose.
What about you?
Same thing.
I think there's different cultures that do it differently, right?
I think technically Sunday is like the start of the week, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's on our calendars.
On our calendars.
I mean, fuck that calendar.
Even my little...
That's the only time I really see it.
I'm sure there's other ways. There's probably other ways.
Like Wednesday is the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other ways to mathematically.
I mean, time. First of all, the whole. It's actually a great segue to what I kind of want to talk about. Time's such a weird psychological thing that we've created to help us progress, but then that's also a part of a lot of our suffering is the concept of time.
Mm-hmm. Our relationship with time.
Yeah. Like we got time. I feel like as a people, we got time all fucked up. We got time fucked up in the game.
How so?
I don't know. I feel like, for instance, you know what? Before I get into that, remember a few episodes, this is actually a while ago now, I brought up the question, what's more important, the past, the present, or the now? Remember that?
Yeah.
We talked about the past, the present, and the now. And I was I think I'd rather be in the now.
Mm-hmm.
And then y'all had the arguments for whether being more in the future or the past, right? Would you
I think if I would have put anything on my name, it would have been that the future's important too, but probably not as much. But actually, you know what? No, I could argue both ways. So yeah, I'm sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think you, and then y'all were also arguing, and again, it was this debate, but that the past, there's some good things.
Yeah, I probably went to the past. Yeah,
and I obviously had the whole I'd rather be in the now, right? And I just read a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. And the way he explains it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, you tell me about that.
Like this, Tom, this book is outstanding. If you're into,
maybe I'll pick it up, bro. I'm gonna have to learn how to read, though.
You ain't gonna read it. But it's all about like understanding what the now is, like this present moment. And then when you think about it, when you have like anxiety or fear or any of those kind of emotions, you're thinking in the future. Oh, I got to get this bill due, or fuck, I got to have this conversation. Fuck, I got to go. Whatever your thing is, you're worried about the future, right? It's because you're focused, too much of your energy is focused on the future and not the now. Whereas, let's say you deal with something like sadness, sorrow, grief, guilt. That stems from thinking in the past. Something happened and you feel bad for whatever reason. It gives you this negative emotion.
Right.
They proved for a fact, you can Google this if you want, that the human mind cannot fully focus on more than one thing at a time. That's a fact. The human mind cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. Think about it. Whenever you're in flow state, whenever you're in your zone, whether it be art or you're editing a video, whatever the hell you're doing, or playing a sport, you're not thinking about nothing else except the present moment, which is that game and that sport.
Mm-hmm.
And you go back all those times where you felt like, damn, okay, when I'm painting, I'm just like in a flow state, right? And then you're just doing it. You're not thinking about nothing else. It's your sanctuary. Mm-hmm. That's presence. That means you were fully engulfed in that moment. But so if you know that, and the brain can only do one thing at once, if a lot of your bullshit comes from thinking in the future or thinking in the past, you should find the way to get rid of that is to think about the present more. Mm-hmm. Because if you were thinking about the present, there's no way you could think about the future or the past because you can't think about more than one thing at once.
Right. So being in the present means being in a flow state.
Pretty much. Now, again, you have to use, here's another thing, Tom. The mind, and from my perspective, is not you. It's like, it's a tool that you can use. Mm-hmm. Right? But I do think a lot of our issues come from the mind and how we think about shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
From our minds. But we're also the ones who can observe the mind.
Mhm.
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is when you understand that if you can be present, which is not of the mind, because you're in a flow state, you're not even thinking, because your mind is what makes you think about shit.
Right.
Which can be good when you need it to. You need to be able to get to that tool. Damn, I got to think of a scenario right now.
Mhm.
And sometimes you got to think about the past. Okay, I remember last time I was in a situation I could. So there are times, but I do think a lot of our bullshit comes from not thinking in the present moment. And then think about it. Think about this shit. We all think, generally speaking, that we're going to get some salvation from something from in the future.
Mhm.
Right? Almost everyone, if I get this car, I'll feel this way. Or if I get this job, I'll feel this way. If I solve this problem, I'll feel this way. And the problem with that is that the answer that you're trying to get, first of all, that doesn't even exist. There's no such thing as the future. There's only always be now. So the answer that you will eventually get is already inside you now, because there's no such thing as a future. There will only always be now. 22 minutes ago wasn't now.
Mhm.
22 minutes from now, it'll still just be now when it's now. So when I realized that, I'm like, oh man, I'm always putting so much energy in something that literally doesn't exist. The future does not exist.
Mhm.
And the past does not exist. It's only a fragmentation of what we think.
Mhm.
You know,
The only
based,
thing that
based
exists
on,
is right now at this very moment.
and if you can only, if your brain, and they proved this, your brain can only focus on one thing at a time, and if you're worried about something or you're sad about something, the way you get over that is to try to keep focusing on being present in the moment. That's how you eliminate anxiety and stress and sadness, is by continuously teaching yourself to stay in the moment, because if you're in the moment, you can't think about shit else.
Mhm.
Logically speaking, like
Right.
that's logic. That ain't, and I swear to God, you can Google that shit. So I'm like, oh, that's such a mind fuck to me. It's such a mind, and then to look at yourself like you have you, but then you have your mind, and normally your mind is a shit that you've in your environment. We talked about this in the car.
Yeah.
You kind of are like what your environment was, a big part of who you are, right? So, but you created that. So who's the person inside you that created that?
Mhm.
That's really who you are. And you can be what the fuck you want to be. But these labels that we put on ourselves,
Right.
and that's who we
The
are,
environment.
set in stone because of our environment. And that's of the mind.
Mhm.
All of our bullshit
You
comes
said
from the
You
mind.
said the mind is complete bullshit. Your
Just
mind
think
is
about
fucking
this.
you.
Real talk. Think about this. If you were having a situation, like let's say you're having anxiety about something, literally just ask yourself this in the moment: do I have a problem right now? Like physically right now. And I'm willing to bet 100% of the times you will say no, because if something were to happen, like there's a car coming after me, you're going to make the decision. You might die, you might die or whatever, but you're going to make the decision because you have to.
Yeah.
You have no choice because you're present in that moment.
Mhm.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
So
that
if you
trumps
can,
everything.
if you can ask yourself, do I have a problem right now? It will 100% be no.
Mhm.
You will be thinking about something in the past or future if you're upset about something every single time.
Right.
Very rarely are you going to be upset about something in the present. As a matter of fact, I don't think you can be upset if you're fully present in the moment without thinking about something in the future or the past.
Right. That's interesting trichotomy, I should say. Yeah.
It totally opened my fucking horizons, and then realizing that I really don't believe I am this person who my persona to be Chris. I think that's what I have labeled myself over the years.
Right.
You know, good and the bad. I've been the ones put, my environment and experiences have made me paint that picture of me. But I do believe that there's something inside of me that I don't have. That's not me. That's just the shit that I've painted.
Yeah.
I created that shit. So who's the me that created it?
You've created the outer layer of you, but maybe that's what represents you based on the environment that you were given. So based on the body you're given, the environment, the lingo, the language, the perspective, the fact that you're a man, all those things, they kind of create, the outer layer of what you're going to project onto the world. But it's still a representation of the real you probably feels you are. Because we all have to paint this character. This actual life, the visual part of it is our character. So we all have to paint a picture of ourselves.
the way I'm just looking at it, it's helping me be even more stress free because I'm not attached. I don't want to put so much of my energy into something that's not a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I want to butt in here because I feel like with your teachings in mind about anxiety, I think that you're right. So like, let's say you have a speech in 5th period, science class, whatever. And I remember in high school, and if you have a big speech, you just trip about it, any sort of thing like that. You just, it does work you up, and it's like you spend all this time freaking out about it, and it's like, it's obviously not healthy. But I think if you don't spend any time thinking about the future or the past, it is difficult to like fully make the most of now, because if you just completely focus on now, not that you'll end up like homeless, but I feel like if you just focus on right now, there's no learning from the past. There's some lessons learned, some things of, all right, I don't want to do that again. In the now, I was smoking crack. That was a mistake. I didn't want to do that. You have to look back to be able to acknowledge some of that stuff and reflect on it. And then I feel like to look into the future, is it futile to some degree? Because who knows what's going to happen. Now is the only thing that exists. I do agree with you on that. But I think if you just view now, you will wash out into the ocean and be moving around with the waves, and you'll never have like a rudder to you to some degree.
Like
So I feel like you still have to look at the future as you can plan. Obviously, you can't predict what's going to happen, but I think if you never look forward, you're just kind of like floating with the wind, and the party takes you this way, it goes this way. I mean, that's fine, but I feel like I don't know. I would say that is a dangerous thing. I see what you're trying to say, but I don't know. I feel
so according to his book, I think that what
was the argument?
So what he would say about that, it's not. First of all, the book's deep as hell. So, but when it comes to that, he goes, no. You can still have your desires and shit in life and goals. He's saying that anything that you would desire that is not of your essence, anything that would not be part of your now, that is the thing that you wouldn't be so attached to it. So let's say you have this rudder to your life, right? And then you rudder it to where you're good and you're stable and all that, and you can put this front on about I'm successful or not. My point is that still doesn't change who you are today, whether or not you're successful in the past or not. That does not mean not to go for success, but it does not mean that your worth does not go up or down whether you get success or not.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point, I think, of the teachings. And the way to do that is to understand that if you're in the now, and I'm not saying all the time, because you still want to use the mind when it's convenient for you. You want to use your mind. It's a beautiful tool. But it could be a fucked up tool if you don't know how to use it, because the mind is designed to keep you safe.
Right.
That's the whole purpose of the mind. So, but a lot of times you're trying to keep yourself safe from things that aren't real, which is actually counterintuitive, because it's actually making you fucked up. Because you think that your brain, and it makes sense, especially the more logical you are and more intelligent you are, from what I'm learning, you can actually convince your shit even more, because you have better ways to bullshit yourself. You almost want a dumb motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Really, because then they'll just do the shit. No, real talk. But he's saying you don't have to be so attached whether or not you have that rudder or not. And again, I agree. You have to think when it's necessary. But a lot of times we do too much thinking.
Well, it can ruin the now. And I mean, not that you were saying about like, I think with the day of social media and stuff like that, it's more a thing to like, be present. Like the amount of times you're like doing just about anything, some cool events happening, and like 90% of people have their phone in their hands.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I travel with my girlfriend, like, we go to these locations that are, popular spots, and everyone's out there taking so many photos. And I'm always just like, I'll let you take some photos. Like, I'm not going to post these. I don't really care about like flexing on Facebook to my friends and family. I'm just like, I just want to like soak in the moment, just like be here, soak in the scenery and stuff like that. Like, I don't really need to. So about being like present in the now, I think that is important. I'm not trying to downplay that. You know?
No, because you definitely have to think about the past when you need it, and you have to think about the future when you need it.
Yeah.
But if that shit's causing you to
stress,
be stress or sad and sorrow,
and that's pretty much the only thing that causes you stress, sadness, or sorrow, unless you're like physically being impaired at the moment.
That's what I'm saying. The only thing that could give
it's going to be the past or the future
ever. Because in the moment,
That's
you're going to handle it.
interesting.
Because in the moment, you're going to handle it, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
whatever it is.
And it
Like
could be
if
bad.
a werewolf is attacking, you got to handle
Yeah,
that
you're
right
going to handle
there.
it. And maybe you did. Now your arm cut off. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that don't mean
nothing,
that it's going to be.
and whatever you thought about is not going to be as important when that's happening. So the moment right now is always going to trump anything that's in the past.
Ever. You can literally now. So especially if you live in a state.
A werewolf.
Because most people, real talk, I think most
Real
people
talk.
do live in a perpetual state of suffering.
What's up? I'm sorry. Say that
I
again.
think most people, most people live in this constant state of suffering. I got to get this. And they attach so much to talking about the ego.
Mhm.
I think our egos, I think they're designed to like do some things for us, but then some things it keeps us away from. And I think the ego is of the mind,
Mhm.
right? Your mind created your ego.
Right.
But the only times you have problems is when you're of mind. You don't have problems when you're present.
Body.
Ever. You never do. When you have problems, you're of mind. You're thinking about a problem. Because in the moment, if you were purely focused on the moment,
it wouldn't be
a problem. You'd be handling it.
Yeah.
Logically, I mean, that to me that makes very clear sense.
Yeah, but then that's like to say that you can't. Okay, I get the philosophy on it, but the expectation would be that people can't think about their past or their future at all.
No, so he's very clear in saying, no, you can think about it when you need to, because it's a tool. The mind is a tool.
Right.
But the mind can also fuck you up, as we all know. I mean, minds fuck us up.
But this is like saying that a person is in a perpetual state of sadness, what you're saying. So let's say they're in a perpetually fucked up place, and so they can never think about the past or the future. They can only think about the present. And that's the only thing that's going to help them. But that's not, logically speaking, they would have to think about the future throughout their day at some point. Even I got to go to the bus stop at this time so that I can go to work. Like I'm even, was it breaking down to simple things like that?
Well,
or is it like a holistic?
Well, I want to butt in. I feel like, I'm imagining like you got a sick family member, right? They're dying. And it's like naturally, let's say they got terminal cancer, they got a year to live, right? Throughout that year, it'll be very difficult to like not pay attention to it at all. But I can understand how thinking about it is not really like helping you out. It's not really making the most of now. Like if you spend that whole time being really, sad about it and stuff like that, it's like you're prolonging, the bad feeling. But I think it's like kind of impossible to like, today's totally normal. And then you go to the hospital and like they're dead, and you're like, oh, that sucks, but they're dead. Now is now, and I can just continue.
So I guess you're saying that, but then and here's where the book gets super deep, because all these things that we consider our personality and these things that this is the family, at the end of the day, we're all part of being. And so that's the big part of what this whole thing is. What is being? And that's that second layer. We all have that in common. We all have a consciousness. Like when I look at you, I can tell you are being.
Right.
When you see a dog, dogs are actually the best forms of beings, according to the book. And it makes sense because when you look at a dog, they're literally just being. They're not worried about shit. They see you. They're the most present things on the planet. Dogs are just are awesome because they literally are just pure presence. They're pure beings, man. So, and I feel like human beings, we have this exceptional tool called the mind, but it's also that same thing that if you let it run rampant, can clown your whole being.
I do want to say though, that I feel like with the dog thing, like, because I agree with you, right? Like, I sometimes look at my own dog and I'm like, this guy's got no problems. Like, no wonder he's just licking his balls. But it's like he never knew anything otherwise. I feel like, like if you look at like a pack of wolves out in the wilderness, like I'm sure they're, chilling at some point, but they're not just like, we'll see where today goes. They're probably like, I'm going to get fucking killed. Something's going to come out of me.
Yeah, they have
like
the wild shit.
If you have nothing going on, if you have absolutely nothing to worry, I think it's the getting older that like causes you to have more thoughts. As a kid, you can be super present because you're like, tomorrow doesn't really exist. Like I'm here right now. This is what's going on. But as an adult, you slowly get more of, I got to pay bills. Yeah, I got this presentation. I got a job interview coming up. And
but
stuff
I think
like
the
that.
point is when you do that, instead of just handling it in the moment, that's where the suffering comes from, thinking those thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's not to say not to use it when in the moment, I need to get this done, get it done. But think about it. When you're in line, and let me tell you a story. This happened to me the other day. This is wild as fuck. I'm at the dollar store getting some nuts for $1.25. The lady in front of me, who was slow, with her kids, wilding, had $130-something worth of products from the dollar store.
Uh-huh.
The dude who was telling, slow as hell. Dee-dee, dee-dee. And then there was problems. It would have typically been it would have typically been your like nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
And I had to go. I was parked illegally. Like it was wild. Right? And then I had an order from DoorDash. I had to go. I'm like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, like,
all the bad
This
shit.
bitch doing her grocery shop.
yeah, it was wild. And she, I don't know. And then she like she went off and got something, came back. It was wild. It was wild. Normally I'd have been like, fuck, this is wasting my time, right? Thinking about the future. Am I going to be delayed? Am I going to get a ticket? But after reading that book, I swear to God, I did this. I didn't go on my phone like I would have, like most of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I'm going to be here and be miserable, I'm at least get on my phone and get present in the phone.
Yeah.
So now you're about to put all your attention into the phone for these next few minutes.
So the time.
It's not to say that you don't understand your surroundings, but you are focused on this phone right now.
Yeah.
I think you have your peripheral feelings and vibes and shit. So like, if you say next, okay. So I know I'm focused on the phone, but you are present on that phone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not present in the moment.
You're shifting your cables to this channel.
You know what? Somebody put it in the comments. It was fire. He said, when you're present, it's like pressing record on your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that made so much sense to me. Because
I like
to
that.
get present, it feels like it's like, okay, because then you like almost record it now because that was a great analogy.
It's a bar.
That was such a bar. You got to press record. Does that make sense to you, Tom?
About recording your life? I mean, yeah.
To press record in your life, it from the aspect of like being focused on the moment. Does it make sense, like the analogy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I think back to I mean, I find myself plenty of times in lines with people and stuff like that, and everybody's on their phone. And I'll be like in line at Chipotle or something like that. And sometimes I'll try to just not be on my phone and just even like look at motherfuckers just because I'm like, I don't want to, even it's just something weird about like I just don't want to be like everyone else too. And like not that there's something to be in the moment at Chipotle, it's not like being at these beautiful places on vacation or this and that, but there's something weird about just that. And so I try to force myself to basically.
What do you do in those moments
I
typically?
was just about to ask that.
I mean, I think just like kind of stare at people and see what's, I guess usually it's not like it's that long. I'm not sitting there for 15, 20 minutes, but the last time I did go, it took a little bit of time. Present. So I try to just, I guess, just see what everyone else is doing.
If you're interested in your surroundings at that moment, that's you being present.
That's what I've tried.
Yeah. So you say you do that quite often.
In scenarios like that, which is kind of rare, but yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's not necessarily like a point to like try to be better or something like that. Or that like soak up anything.
No, you just naturally wanted to just be focused more on the now.
I guess, or just to like, just not feel like I need to be on my phone. Like, oh, there's a second of downtime in my life. So just, because like I find myself doing that all the time where it's like, I'll literally hit export a video and it usually will take a couple of minutes to export or something like that. And I immediately just grab my phone and it's just like, so you find yourself scrolling before
if I can interject, it's funny right now how the social media is tying into being in the now, because what I've noticed is when you are being in the now, let's say you're in line at Chipotle, what you're typically doing in anywhere is people watching. You're watching your surroundings, but we're surrounded by people. So typically what you end up doing when you're not on your phone is looking at your environment, which are the people rolling a burrito, in line texting, somebody's coming in the door, somebody's eating over there. So you're in your presence, right? But when you actually go on your phone, as Tom could have done, he's now in the presence of people who are online. So it's still being in the presence of people, but it's always like when you're in the now, you're surrounded by your environment, but typically who's in your environment are other people. Unless you're often, in a natural setting.
I think because human beings have the mind, and a lot of us are so engulfed in our mind, we're so engulfed on the things that we've learned from these things that were put inside of you growing up, your environment, that you didn't choose most of it, right?
Yeah.
And this is what creates your mind and how you think, right? Because some people are so tied into that, what's going on in their mind, they almost don't want to be present in the moment. Because I'm telling you, the float tank, I was telling you about the float tank, the sensory deprivation chamber. There's a lot of people that won't even attempt it, because it's just you and your mind.
Yeah.
And some people look at that like kind of scary. It's like, oh shit. It's like, I don't know if I can just be with my mind for an hour. So you know, I told you what it is. Just you have no, you can't see because it's a black room. You can't feel anything because you're floating on water, so there's no gravity. There's salt in the water. You can't hear anything because it's a room and you get earplugs. You can't taste anything because you're not tasting. You can't see because it's black. Yeah. So all your senses are cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just you and your mind.
Right.
Or I guess you could try to, you know, flap your hands around and now you can focus on whatever's going on. But at the end of the day, it's going to be you and your mind. If you just sit there, it's just you and your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are scared to do that because that's pure presence. You know, that's pure you. Nothing else, nothing in that room. Can't nobody see you. It's just you. You're naked. It's just you by yourself for an hour and a half, you in your mind. And a lot of people are just...
What does your mind go to?
Wait, hang this out. You went naked?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you wouldn't have to. So I've been like 4 times. I've done like 4 or 5 times.
Nice.
Awesome experience. To me, it's very psychedelic without the drug. Especially if you're in the whole realm of trying to meditate and, you know, trying to quiet your mind. But it's like, to me, it's like meditation on heroin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because you're forced, whereas with meditation at home, you know, or like even if you're playing a sport, there's a lot of different distractions. There's no distractions in here.
I was going to say that's a different type of meditation because you don't have the environment. You don't have your senses with you. So, you know, I'm thinking about when I'm modeling, I have the sensory of,
meditation,
like I'm meditating, but I'm also meditating on how still I can keep my body.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
so that's a
you're
muscle
right.
Exactly. But
like,
there's also
attention?
moments of unfocus. So it's like, oh, you know, like a little shift or something. So with you being on the float tank, not having any senses and only being present of mind, like it's different from when times in a Chipotle line or something like that, where you're not on your phone, but your focus is present, but you still have people and environment in your presence to not distract, but kind of focus on. Whereas when you're on a float tank, that's just pure mind. So how is that? Because that's not even a natural setting unless you're like sleep. So to be awake while
it's a very unnatural setting. I don't think even it's a setting you've never felt because even in your mother's womb, you still have to deal with gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes this thing so like mind blowing because your body senses have never been shut off.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, my experiences with it is it helped me realize that I am not my mind. I'm not. Because if I'm sitting there and say, I want to focus on my breathing, why am I thinking about every fucking thing on earth except my breathing? And the more I did that, and so that's meditation. And if you focus on that idea and don't put your attention nowhere else, you can realize like, oh shit, I'm not in control of my thoughts at all, ever.
Mm-hmm.
They're just bing in your brain, bing, bing. Because right now, meditate for 30 seconds and just think about your chest breathing. And I promise you, inevitably, you're going to think about something else. Yeah. So, right? 100%, right? And it's just this, we're in this, our mind is in a conscious state of thinking. And thinking takes up a lot of our energy.
Yeah.
Thinking, and this is also science, takes up about, I think, I don't know the number, but I know it's science. It's a large percentage of your energy source comes from your brain thinking. So a good amount
brain
of your
is a big nutrient taker. Yeah,
a lot of energy from your daily allotment of energy, right? So if you know
brain
that,
in your gut,
that too. So then imagine, you know, if you're constantly thinking about some shit, if you're just now you feel drained and dead, it's because your energy levels are low, like quite literally.
I stress myself to clean the fuck out.
So it's man. So I don't know. I just think focusing on. I think we're talking about focusing on the now.
Yeah.
And listen. I'm not going to sit here. I read the book and I'm about to listen to it. I'm about to listen to it again because it's a deep concept, especially if you never dabbled in the idea that you're not your mind. Mm-hmm. Because I'm telling you, I think that's what the meditation does, and that just amplifies it. Is you are not in control of this bitch. So why am I so attached to the outcomes of this thing when I'm not even the one controlling it? I'm not even controlling half the thoughts, and half the things are going on inside of us are subconscious anyway.
Right.
Half the shit you do, you subconsciously do. You're not the one controlling your heartbeat right now. Something's subconsciously doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so something's going on outside of our mind, clearly.
Right. Right. So you're not even, you're not your mind necessarily the full entire.
And that don't mean you don't have to go get after some stuff, you know, because you still have this physical world that we live in, and you have to still deal amongst it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very beneficial, at least in my opinion, to look at that as, oh, okay, that's just my mind part of me working. So for the mind part, yeah, okay, cool. We'll go do these things, but that shit don't fuck with what the essence of me is. That's just the mind. I can control the mind. Me and my mind are having this battle. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's coming through when I need it. Sometimes it's fucking me up.
Yeah.
It's my that's all the issues.
My mind's telling me.
Right. But just me, it's always good.
Yeah.
Because it's just me. It's just being.
Me,
myself will never do me wrong. Like just the essence of me. My mind might do me wrong.
Right.
Think about it.
The flesh is
You can't stop thinking for 30 seconds.
And you can tell yourself, I want to think about breathing.
My goal is to not, and you physically cannot. So the fact that you cannot, I'm like, oh, that ain't me.
Right.
That ain't me. And to me, that made so much sense because I want to stop it and I can't. There's nothing I can do. So the idea is not to stop thinking. The idea is to realize that you're not in control of it. So then whatever you got going on in the mind, you can still do it, but just realize that ain't you. So let's say you've labeled yourself, your mind has labeled you socially anxious because of the experiences in your past that don't exist. And now because of that, that's how you're living your life based off of some stuff in the past that doesn't exist anymore. And at the mind. The bullshit always stems from the mind, bro.
Yeah.
Every time. And every time, think about it. Every time you have a problem, it's never in the moment. It's always of the mind.
Yeah, mind problems. Yes.
And if you have good,
it's a byproduct of this ability we have.
And then you could say, well, what about the positives, right? Okay, well, we could think about something that'll make me feel good. You're still thinking about something that'll happen in the future, thinking that your happiness or making you, not happiness, I don't like that word, but more like your wholeness, who you are, what makes you fulfilled, is always going to be right here. Because if you think you can't gain something or obtain something to get your wholeness, you can't get your way to salvation. I really don't believe that. Because I feel like if you'll always be thinking in the future about what you're trying to do, when you get there, you've already trained your brain to look at something outside of you to get it.
Trained your brain to look outside of you to get it.
You trained your brain. Your mind has trained you to look outside of yourself,
your presence,
to get your wholeness.
Right.
Because that's what we're all doing. We're trying to feel whole, complete in this world. What do we do? We are something. Right. We're trying to feel complete, whole.
I think we're trying to feel. I think there's a part of stability though that comes with like bringing, like evolving as a group too. Like we want to get to a point where we're comfortable enough to get the next generation comfortable with creating another generation. So there isn't a point to where
biological perspective.
Yeah, like we still always are going to move forward. I think the earth wants us to do that. So it's still a product of, we still have to consider the fact that the future is always kind of still the goal. We create, the now that we live in was created by people from the past. We don't have this without those people thinking about the future. So it's kind of still like a three-man weave, if you will. But presence, it still has it probably trumps all of it. But I think the people that created the now, they were from the past, but they were thinking about the future. So
yeah, but they still only experience now.
They experience now, but they had the presence of mind to think about the future. Like when you build this table.
Again, I hope I didn't say that. I said it clearly. I believe what he was saying in the book is that you can still use your mind as a tool when necessary. But if you're just constantly of the mind, so what he was saying, so like practically speaking, like when I was in line at that dollar store, to take that moment, instead of thinking about the future, use that little couple moments right there. Just be of presence like you do when you go out to restaurants. You're using those little moments just to be present. And especially with the phones now, we're present, but not in the moment. You're present on this phone, which is not of the moment. Right. I guess you say I'm in the moment, I'm present on the phone, but now we get kind of goofy. But think about it, man. Whenever I feel good, typically, or whenever I feel like complete, it's always when I'm thinking about the now. Because like, Eric, right now, are you good?
I'm Gucci.
Tom, right now.
I'm feeling good.
To me, that was a mind-blowing idea because I'm like, that is true, man. Every time I think I have a problem, I'm going to ask myself, do I have a problem right now? And it's going to be no. Okay, so this is going to handle it. Is it dire right now? No, okay, because
Most
if
problems
if it was dire, you'd be handling it.
at the very moment.
How did the story end up with the chick at the?
No, so I just sat there for like a good 38 years. It took forever, but I didn't even. And that's another thing with that story. So it was probably like 5 legit minutes. Legit minutes.
Long as hell though.
Wow.
Right? So it was 5 legit minutes, but I took that as like a learning experience for myself. You know, I really was like, man, let's see if you about that life. Put the phone away and just started looking at. I was just looking at stuff. Not even necessarily. I was just like, oh damn, shit. I don't know. I was just kind of more present. And then the shit went away, and then I'm like, what happened? And then nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. I didn't get in trouble. My life didn't get over. It's just time. It's okay. It's just present. And I'm like, what is cooler than just right now, us three, right now? What is more important? Nothing, because it doesn't exist. But at this moment, what's more important than right now?
Right.
Nothing. Nothing on earth. Because there's nothing, there is no such thing as something else. There's only this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I love you guys.
I know, right?
So that's what I'm on. Yeah. So I ended up waiting like 6 minutes. It was horrible.
Nah, it's funny, you know what? I go to Jewel and I always have options. Like, okay, I got this line. And I always get in the line that's just got the motherfucker that just got the credit card issue or the extra bag that they forgot. I'm like, God, I always choose the one that's just not smooth.
Occasionally, there was something at like the gas station the other day where somebody was like, buying less than like $10 worth of shit and their card kept getting declined. I think it was like a machine problem, but there was like 3 people in line and I was like about to just be like, fucking move aside. Like I'll fucking pay for this shit just to get you the fuck out of here, bro. Cause like it's a thing. I think it was on their end. I didn't ultimately do it, but I was.
How close were you to doing it?
Dude, if it was like a couple of bucks, like I would totally do it. Like let's say, say at the grocery store or something, like someone's card's getting declined or something like that. Hey, I got no problem. Like I'm one of those people that's like, don't inconvenience others. Like, let's keep this bitch moving. And so if they're like, again, if it's like I can't pay, that's obviously like, I'm imagining some old lady. It's like, oh, I guess I'm at my card limit. It's like, all right, no problem, easy. But people that are just like ratchet and struggling, I have less of interest for that. Or like people, like sometimes you get guys with like the coupons and shit, and they're like, this should actually be $5.59, and you're just like
bro,
I can't imagine. Yeah, I grew up poor, so like I can't even just like imagine putting myself in that boat where it's like,
yeah,
people are around you, bro. Like you're embarrassing yourself, you're embarrassing me secondhand by like shrewdly negotiating 50 cents. I mean, everybody's got their problems, but goddamn, it's not worth. None of it is worth all of our times over here.
The line is long.
I feel you, man, and I feel you, and I get that. I get that. But where I think that my brain goes now, because I lived that way my whole life, but with just my research in my life, what I'm starting to think now is that these quote unquote inconveniences in my life, like I don't really look at them as inconveniences anymore.
Right. It's just life.
It's just life. And then like it's of the mind, which is also a separate part of who I am, because I'm not in control of the shit that's going on in this bitch majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then half the shit you do is subconscious anyway, based on a lot of times your environment. But did you choose to be in that environment?
Right.
Nope. Did you choose to have parents? Nope. Did you choose to be black? Nope. You didn't choose nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have your experiences based on everything you didn't. Do you have free will? I don't think you really. Now that I'm thinking about it, real talk.
You're a built machine.
Do you have? You think you're making the choice, huh? No, it's you. Your mind thinks it's making the choice. You and most of us don't even know that there's a. Again, I guess it's a philosophy. Nobody can prove it, but I think we all can attest that you can have your mind in the float tank, and you can't stop the thoughts. We can all agree with that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, is it safe to say that there's like almost 2 entities inside of you? There's one that you can't control, which is your thoughts, and then there's you trying to control them.
Well, I think there's an animality part to us that's kind of like just gonna just operate on this animal scale. But then I think what you're saying is you have the thoughts that can go rampant into any which way which you can't control. But you do have that solid base that's controlling everything that you can't control.
That you can.
So
yeah, I guess
you're just driving to work ass, I mean,
yeah.
So
some thoughts you can't.
But it's like 2 entities inside of you. There's your mind, and then there's you. And the way you're not a part of your mind, you're not 100% in control of your mind. That's a fact.
But I don't know if that's a separation of you, though.
No, they're the same things because we're the same person.
Mhm.
But there is when you quiet your mind, when you close your eyes
Mhm.
and just to yourself, tell yourself, I want to stop my thoughts, and then you don't stop them. That's you, and then there's something else that you cannot control, and that's of your mind. You understand that?
Yeah.
Are we on the same point with that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So there's two things going on. To me, there's your mind, which is the physical universe that you know, all the things that we know. That's all that shit's part of your mind, who you are. But then there's that other thing that's like, okay, I'm not really in control of this. I'm not really in control of this. And then you can get better at trying to help you, but no one can really control the thoughts.
Nobody can really focus on. So maybe there's a part that, I see what you're saying. There's a part that focuses on what it's going to focus on regardless.
Yeah.
Rather than what you want your mind to do. There's a part that's going to focus on what it wants to focus on.
Yeah. So you can say that's your part. Maybe it's a part of your mind.
But you can also trick your mind. I guess you can say, if you want to be other mind, you can say, I want to focus on this so much that you don't focus on it. Let's say you're at a free throw line. I want to hit this bitch so bad that I fuck it up. So is it you tricking your mind or your inner mind, your animal mind, I guess you can call it, to fucking up? Because you can psych yourself out even with that too. Or you can, overthinking things.
That's what I'm saying. And I think it's the overthinking.
But is that, but you can physically fuck it up by overthinking it, even though you really want to make it. But
thoughts turn into real things. Thoughts are real. Thoughts created this damn table. Thoughts created, this script TV. How do you pronounce that? Sceptre, sorry.
I don't know.
I know, I got one too. I never knew how to.
Fucking Amazon, bro.
A thought created that. That came from, we talk about all the time how our thoughts, the imagination creates these things, but you're not in control of those things or those thoughts. And you can tap into it and say, I want to think about this, but inevitably you're not in control of the thoughts that come after that. You can especially once you get better with your mind, you can like direct it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people have these trains of thoughts, and they, and a lot of them go wacky.
Yeah, but you can still get stuff done within that realm, though.
Yeah, it's always because it's the
so you're just saying, like, if I'm starting to build this table and I'm starting the process, and then I'm about to get the drill, I'm drilling, so I'm focused on that, but my mind still is gonna drift in little other parts. So it can say, oh, let me watch out for the things flying up. Oh, let me make sure that's not, I can.
And a lot of that's
small focuses,
is
small
subconscious.
Thoughts. Right. So those are subconscious, but I still think that's part of the mind kind of working in, you're saying you can't focus on more than one thing at once too.
You can't.
So is that also the mind thinking those things as you're drilling, this thing is flying off, so let me watch myself, or,
So I'm saying,
I mean, it can be, I guess it can be all within
all that shit when something's
chord.
flying at you and you're moving, that subconscious moves, or
at
the end of the day, it's all of the mind. There's the thing inside of you that cannot control just you and your mind. And think of the flow tank. It's the best way to describe it as, because there's nothing else. It's just you and that thing that's thinking in there.
Yeah, that's how I describe the animal mind.
The animal mind, right? But it does. It
like
is
the reptile brain.
There's your information machines ain't working. There's no need for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally you're gathering information when you're walking around. Even the shit that you don't think that you're gathering it.
Right.
So the idea, and then this book where it gets even more powerful, if you just trust in the process of now. So when think about it, when you need to think, all of a sudden you get focused on the now, and all of a sudden that's when the creativity comes. So his whole idea is, you want to get creativity, it comes from the now.
Mm-hmm.
So you ever want to get creative, focus on the right now. You start thinking about, and then all of a sudden that's where those thoughts come in. It's part of the now.
Right.
And then you're not of the mind, and you can just, tap into that shit.
Right.
Like a power. And it's true. Anytime I've ever come up with ideas, I'm typically like in the moment. I'm not thinking about next weekend when I come up with an idea. I'm typically thinking right now, like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That to me, it makes so much sense. So I'm not in it again. And make it very clear. How much time we got?
I mean, we're at 44 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Again, it's not. You still have to live of mind, right? Because that's just the game we play. You still have to use the mind to take care of the things you need. You got a family. You got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know that it's just of the mind and you did not control a lot of that, right? You don't have to be so attached to something that's not even you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point. To not be so attached. That's what we're talking about in the car a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not so attached to being anything outside of right now because there will only ever be a right now, ever.
Mhm.
So whatever I think I will be able to get, maybe CARESNONE grows to $22 million a month. Cool,
Easy.
right? Cool. That's in the future though.
Mhm.
Me thinking about that is what causes any kind of drama in my life, whether I'm sad I'm not there or I'm happy that I'm getting closer. That's all of my emotions stem from thinking about something else, not thinking about right now.
Right.
Whenever I'm thinking about right now, it's typically, no, I'm pretty good. Damn, like I'm with my boys. I'm thinking about right now. I'm not thinking about my bullshit.
Yeah.
That is a good, if you can understand that, that's going to be a good way to eliminate a lot, if not all, of your anxiety.
I think that it does taint things, right? Like you said, I think you get all worked up about stuff and it can ruin the now. I don't think that it's not important to think about that stuff, but if you spend your entire Friday tripping about the speaking engagement you got on Saturday, you've ruined an entire day out of some fear that
Because you
wouldn't matter because Saturday's happening regardless, So
And then if you want to get of the mind and think practically of our experiences, it's always better than what you thought it was going to be anyway, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
And then if you can we were talking about this in the car, if you can change your mind to look at that 1 time out of 10 that is fucked up, it's like, okay, that's still a win.
Mm-hmm.
If you could change your mindset to look at all of your instances as wins, regardless if you actually won or regardless if you fucked up, if they're all wins, you just walk around a winner. Who can fuck with you?
Right.
If you believe that shit in your mind,
right.
If you believe it in your soul, I don't give a fuck what Tom says. I don't give a fuck what De'Eric says. And the reason why of the mind, I give a fuck, but the core essence of me, there's nothing outside of it. As a matter of fact, we're all the same, just the core essence. So I now look at, this book was wild. It opened my whole fucking soul because I now
every book Chris comes here a little bit more.
Well, I think I chose choosing good books. I always pick a book that's like world renowned. I'm like, I see why. Life changing, right? I'm like, God, you read a book and your whole shit just explode. But this one was different because I was already kind of in the realm of meditation.
Yeah.
I was already in the realm of understanding that I'm not my mind. Now I truly understand that shit, man. So I am not attached to what you believe I am or what I think you think I am.
And more importantly, what you think.
Right. I'm not even touching that no more because that's still of your mind.
Right.
I can still do it. I still chose, first of all, shout out to the cringe.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So the whole idea behind this was to lean into the social anxiety, lean into it. People don't like, especially nowadays, the word is cringe. You don't want to feel cringe, right? So it's like, this is kind of like, you ever seen 8 Mile?
Yep.
Eminem at the end, the way he won was about making fun of himself.
Yeah.
He ended up being the hero at the end of the day. That's the essence of what I was doing with this. And again, maybe nobody buys it. I don't give a fuck. I'm still going to rock it proudly. And the whole idea is, cringe. Okay, so I'm cringe. And what? Okay, and? Do you disarm that feeling of not feeling complete? So the idea is you wear this. For the people who really want to get over it, I feel like you have to lean into your fears. And this would be a good, cool way. Throw a hoodie on. People are gonna read it, think cringe, and then you're like almost as if I don't give a fuck if I'm what you think. And it's like a forced exposure therapy, so to speak.
Right.
So that's the idea. I got 3 colors on there. It's up on the site. Check it out. Shout out CARESNONE.com.
Link below.
CARESNONE.com. So that's the whole point behind that.
Nice.
Go
nice.
copy.
I only got 3 colors too. So
What's the 3 colors?
So I got I got pink and navy. So pink, navy blue, army green and orange, and black and white for the people who are they're not that wild. Because I wanted the 2 to kind of
pop a little bit.
And I know the black and white. Some people are like, well, I'll wear the word, but I can't have a crazy color. So I wanted to give a couple options, but I'm not doing I don't want to give too many options. I think sometimes I've for sure have given too many options.
Yeah.
Like who I think I am, Nike. Like, bro, give them a couple things they could purchase and get your services and your products.
Yeah, it's a learning experience. It's a learning experience.
Yeah, but the now, bro, you got to get now time. You're not now. That's your problem.
I think there's
tomorrow.
probably some truth to that, man. Maybe I am a little bit in tomorrow. I don't like to think I dwell on the past too much, but I think that there are lessons from the past, and I think if you spend your entire time focused on just now, like when I'm on vacation and shit, it's like being there at the destination. We got there, here we are, this is what we fucking worked for, soak it in, so I'm not on my phone doing Snapchat stories and stupid shit like that.
But you would still use your mind to do things you had to do on the trip. like, okay, we're all meeting at 7. That's using your mind.
Yeah.
So you're still going to tap into your mind.
I feel like it's when being present is important. Maybe more so than like constantly being present all the time, right? Because like, let's say, on the flight out there, it's like, could I watch some movie? Yeah, but like maybe I'm sitting there thinking about like, here's what I'm gonna do when I get to the hotel. I'm gonna set up here, and then I'm gonna go take my laptop out on this cool balcony. Like, I think there's stuff sometimes good there. I think again, when it comes to like social anxiety and stuff like that, fearing the future is not good.
Any
right?
form of
looking
anxiety.
forward to the future, planning for the future are good things in my book. But
that's what I'm saying. So you use your mind as a tool for the things you need to, like that.
Yeah.
I need to plan, which is still making a decision in the now, if we're being honest. But you make a decision. I want to plan for the future, which is still you in the present. If you're saying I need to make a change, or I need to set up for the future, that's you in the present.
Because you've decided now. Yeah.
Right.
I get you.
So if you just realize that is the state that creates most of your life, not the subconscious, not the future, not most, all of your life, not the past. You tap into your mind when you need to use those things because you're of this world. You have to use your mind.
Right.
That's how we work as beings.
Right.
But you are still a being.
That as being on this earth.
That you know what I'm saying? Moment. You are a human, and that's why human being. You're a human and you're a being. It's two different things.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna say it one more time. It's because you can prove that you can't control your thoughts. If I could control everything that I'm doing at all times, like we all desire to do, don't you wish you made the 100% the right decisions?
Yeah.
But let's be honest, we don't. We make 70%, or it seems like the better decisions you make in your life, the better off you are. That's how we kind of, as people, that's how we work. Make better decisions. But it's like, what better decisions for what? To improve your mind, your ego? Because you're already, I'm here right now. The moment will only be now. So what's more important? That doesn't mean to stay in the constant state of just, but what it means is whenever you're having any kind of issues ever, try to focus on them and get now and see if you still feel the same way.
Right.
Because typically your issues come from
the past or the future.
Not even typically, always is, 100% of the time. Every issue you've ever had in your life comes from either the past or the future.
And I think that's an interesting thing that we have to deal with as people. Like, no other living thing really. I mean, I think they all kind of just go towards the future, just subconsciously. But like, we have this thing where we have this presence of mind to know about our past and know how, like, from the past, how to build a future, but also still living in the present. And I think it's just a constant struggle with that. So the topic is definitely interesting, especially from a socially anxious perspective too. I do like what you said too, though, as far as like planning for the future. Like it's not necessarily there's always two minds, and there's a socially anxious one, and then there's one that's kind of like a wild thornberry about shit. You know what I mean? Where you're just like on go. So it's interesting to see how people battle with these three realms of living, whether it be present, past, or future, while having either a socially anxious mindset or one that's just kind of like freeform with it. So
I'm gonna say most people don't even realize there's a present.
I think most people realize it. I mean, you have to live out your present every day, so you realize your presence.
A lot of that's subconscious, D.
Yeah, but I think people realize it. I mean, if you're of mind, if you're a person that's of mind, you realize that you're in a present state, but you can think about a lot of things that are in the past or in the future, and it can let that affect your daily decisions. I mean, a lot of our present is, like I said, is based on the people who built it right now. So the past is automatically built into our presence anyway. And we are a species that likes to move forward. So the future is going to be built into our presence as we plan for things. So it's still like an all within realm, but I think you just use it at different times. You don't let anyone like overtake, because you do need your past. Your past is going to be here regardless.
But how often do you need your past versus will ever be more important to be in the now?
I'm sorry? How often?
How often would you need to tap into the past versus how important right now is?
I think the past exists right now, though, in our present.
It's literally impossible. There's only one moment.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is what I was saying earlier is the past is built, or the present is built by the people who were from the past, who were thinking about the future. So it's like all still tied in with
But they were still in the present when they did it.
Yeah, they were still in the present, don't get me wrong, but they were thinking about the future then in that present time, right?
So they tapped into their mind for the future, but they were still living in the present at the time.
I'm not denying the present. I'm not denying the present.
Only now, which is
but I'm saying
really
they all still have to. I don't think they can be really separated too much. I think you can tap into them when you need it, but I don't think it's a full separation of them because the past kind of is like still here. Like
my point is I think you would live a more, actually, I know for a fact, you would live a less stressful life if you spent more time in your present than you did in your past.
Mm-hmm.
For a fact, because you'll never have a problem in the now. You can only have your problems in the past.
Right.
You can only have your anxieties and shit in the future.
Yeah,
you can have some positives.
That's what I mean. There's two different mindsets,
positives
right?
from both, but the present is always good.
Mm-hmm. For the most part, yeah.
No, it always is good because even if it was bad,
for the most part, unless the train's coming right now, that's kind of.
But but you would handle it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm
not saying it's a good or bad. It just is. The present is just is.
Right.
I'm not saying the present is necessarily. It just is what it is. And if you can, that's what I meant by earlier when I said I want to talk about surrender. If you just surrender that it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So if that doesn't mean you don't make your moves, that don't mean you use your mind to do what you got to do of mind, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What it's gonna get done or it's not.
Right.
And that's just the facts. Can't nobody argue that if it is what it is. You can sit here and
I keep wanting to say it every time you say that.
It is what it is.
My brother, I do that to my brother all the time, and he loves it. So.
But it's so true, man. So then, just
it is what it is.
With that philosophy,
that's the philosophy.
It's helped me just be way more understanding of way more shit. It helped me kind of, and then like the whole idea of our ego being of the mind, and the fact that I think although they're in the same, it's different. I think I'm and my mind are two different things. Personally, I don't think I am my mind. But I do realize that the mind is a beautiful fucking tool.
Yeah.
But it's also a fucked up one if you let that shit run wild.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta do the work of the mind. You gotta learn the mind shit. You gotta use this thing to hopefully, or don't exist, but you do exist in this physical realm, right? I can sit here and touch you. So I still have to use the mind to do that. But that's that part of me. The part of me, there's this other part of me that can't control that. You can only tap into it when you need to, but at the end of the day, it's always only this part. It's always only just now, ever. No one can take that away from you. They could cut your arms off. They can put you in a whole new outfit, but they'll never. They can make you think differently. They can put you in a whole different environment, but they'll never change the essence of the person inside of you ever. No one can do that. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that is pure confidence. Because then it's like, because if you put all your confidence in things that are of the mind, all that shit's fleeting. All that shit is shit that you can come, it can go.
Right.
Is it cool because I have something for not? Don't get me wrong. You have to survive the hierarchy of needs. But at the end of the day, what most of the decisions you're making, are you doing it because of your mind, or are you doing it because of the essence of you? And chances are, actually, I know for a fact, it's not of the present. You're thinking of the future. Mm-hmm. Which in the book, what he's saying, and it really gets deep because what he says is all those problems stem from you being scared of death. We are, as people, we have this weird thing that we have to go to, and at least as far as the West is concerned, we have this interesting philosophy of death as like this inness, but then the eastern part of the world, they look at death completely different, as just like this just changing of the guard, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So then a lot of the shit stems from thinking. They kind of believe in this presence of now. Mm-hmm. So they don't have the same stressors of death that we do over the West.
Right.
They look at they have don't they have like holidays and shit, Day of the Dead, and they all kinds of, but over here, the way we think as a people, we're like kind of scared of, we don't talk about that shit, but and we all have this, because we attach our ego to that. Mm-hmm. We attach everything that we know, believe, who we met, who we saw, our friends, our family, That's part of the egoic mind. That comes from you getting stimuli in the world and information coming up into these senses. Mm-hmm. But there's still that presence that's like behind all that. It's like a second layer. Mm-hmm. That shit changed my life, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We've spent most of the day talking about the now. I want to talk about the past and the future for a moment. Christopher, last time we spoke, you had rolled out a new website and people could schedule calls with you and stuff like that. Have you had
It's
one of
set
those
up.
calls?
It's set up. It's
Have
set
you
up.
had
It's
a call?
clean. I have not had a call.
Okay, but we're working on it.
I tell you this though, I have had people just give me money. Thank you guys.
That's awesome. How?
That was worth it. So actually, what I'm saying this right now live. What I want to do, the one guy, he pretty much, if he wants, he might not want it, but I'm gonna give him a consultation because that's essentially what he paid for by just as a tip. You know, he hit me up. Shout out to him and was like, "Hey man, you had a video that hit home, and I had to give you a little love."
That's very nice.
And I was like, "No, you ain't gotta do that shit. Like come on, that was never the point. The whole point is offer the value." He was like, "No, I insist." Hit him with the Cash App, and he sent it, and it was a substantial amount. You know, compared to like somebody that
just
you
a
never
random
met.
person. Yeah.
Right.
Damn.
So
Shout out to that man.
So my point is if obviously my energy and my life put into the content, which is all the books, all the things I've done, all the self work, all the shit. If someone's willing to, and I already knew this because he's willing to buy the products, right? So I already knew this. But if someone's willing to just give you energy because of something you said or something that you thought or how you put it together, hit home for them. And that's just the one who felt that could do that or that had the means to do that or whatever. What if some people feel that way? They just feel that way, which is all that really matters.
Yeah.
And the message is all. And I think I'm probably at hold on, let me see.
Let's check the numbers.
Hey, let's see. What it was doing really good, you guys. Hold on.
Let's check your numbers.
Was it 80,000?
80,000.
So that's 120 across all the platforms. 120,000 people. But I'll be honest.
80,000 on TikTok.
TikTok specifically.
Yeah.
Very engaged people. I actually have fun. I've been going live. Love those. That shit is mind-boggling how relatable. It's such a cool experience and then doing it live, which was me beating my demon. I was weird about that shit at first. I remember I told you. I was like, what if you ain't got nothing to say? Huh?
That does feel weird. You know?
Yeah, it feels weird at first, right? When you go live and there's only 2 people in there, and we kind of talked about this last time, but it's like, just focus on those 2 people. What's the difference? Because you're still looking at the box, it's still a picture of you, right? It's still like, so if you're going live and you only got 1 person in there, you'll see a number that claims there's somebody else watching, but it's still the same thing outside of that number. Only thing that's changing is physically what this number is, as far as what you can prove, right? But then we look at it differently because as soon as that number goes, now we think that we're putting that to our mind, and it's like, oh, you can start to manipulate this because like, oh, wait, the mind is just playing a bunch of games on us all the time.
Yeah,
that's all it does. And it's designed to keep us safe, but we don't need to be safe like that no more because it's 2023 and shit's cushy as hell.
Yeah.
So as animal brains, we create the shit because we need to overcome some shit. Maybe that's part of what this life game is. I kind of like that. I kind of like that whole. You got to overcome some shit.
You gotta. Yeah, this is Wild Hundreds.
Do you like that shit, Tom? Do you like the act of overcoming, or do you if you could pick it to just be? Would you pick it to just be great all time, or do you like the act of overcoming?
To be great all the time, or like the
to be just pure enlightenment, or do you like the idea of
just like it just works out perfectly all the 100%. Time? It's just no problem. Laxity. Yeah, it's just I'm always killing it, opposed to like I had to work for this shit. No, I think of course you like the hard work,
like the climb,
yeah,
the creation,
the hustle.
What about you?
Yeah, it's always interesting. I was thinking like, why does suffering have to happen for things to be created? You know, or for things to move forward? And it's a very interesting thing that we have to go through one part of things to achieve success, you know, and a lot of it is non-success, or as we would deem it, you know what I mean? So I always find it interesting that, you know, you kind of have to have those sufferings in life to feel some type of accomplishment. That's a part of the actual lineage of life and shit.
Is that like the whole resistance thing, you think?
What do you mean?
Like you almost like you need resistance.
You need some type of pressure,
right? Think about it. He just told me,
like a resistance band.
He'd rather have the resistance in his job. If you're trying to gain muscle, you almost need that that
pressure. Yeah.
If you're trying to go to the moon, you need the initial inertia.
Yeah.
Right.
The initial inertia.
My whole brand is set up on purposely challenging yourself,
Yeah.
which is chaos, because our brain wants to keep us in chaos. So it's like, no, not our brain, the universe.
It's chaos.
It's chaos, right? It's all this shit. It just so happens that to us, it seems like it's something going on, but it really is just a bunch of shit happening, right? And then our brain's trying to like make sense of it and keep us safe.
Right.
It's like, oh, so that's all that's going on here. That's
Just
all
trying to keep us safe the whole
keep
time.
us safe. But I don't need that shit all the time.
Yeah.
I need it when I need it.
Sometimes too fucking safe.
I'm scared to say hello to these people.
Yeah, why am I so safe?
Some people, you're scared to go outside. Well, why? So what we got to do?
It's dangerous out here. That's my grandma.
What we have to do is break it down for the people who have social anxiety. We have to get down to like a core of what it is that you're fearful of. We don't even got to talk about the now shit, because that's some other shit. I believe that's the real key.
Yeah.
But you can't tell somebody talking about some quote unquote enlightenment type shit if they're still stuck on, if their emotion is, deep, dark, pissed off, can't leave the house. They're not trying to hear you're being present, right? So, and I learned this in a book called the laws of energy, something like that. The stairs of energy. It was something along those lines. And there's self-actualization, enlightenment, and the bottom one was like hate or some shit. And there was different levels, and it was like red, and it goes into blue, and it was like yellow, red. If someone's down here, you have to meet them. You have to let them grow into here.
Yeah.
You can't make somebody.
Everybody's
that was
relative.
a big one for me, because I'm like, oh, just understand this. It's like, well, you're forgetting that you went through that stage.
Yeah.
So everyone's got to go through your stages of progression.
The past is real, man.
And that's where I got to have my patience, because I'm like, damn. But then you realize, like, oh, motherfucker, you've been in the game deep for like 15 years. Some people are just finding your content.
Got to give some people grace.
Think about this. Some people are just finding your shit. Some people are finding your page.
Yeah.
Just getting into the video production.
It's true.
That's a big deal.
Looking
so
good,
we
by the
have
way.
to. Do you ever get into that mode where you're not thinking about every single person when you make content? Like, who do you think about when you make your content?
My goddamn self. And the payout. That Amazon. I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. Psych. No, I'm just kidding. When I'm doing stuff, I would say though that I don't like genuinely. I'm like, I want this information out so people can build. Like, I do obviously want to help people. Like, I've done probably an hour worth of content on how to build a podcast studio, and then honestly how to turn it into a business. Like, I've given a lot away. A
lot.
But I do it now, I feel like, because I like the climb, and it's a challenge to do YouTube. It's an experience. I obviously am helping people. I do get something aside from just like the self-satisfaction of like, oh, this was a good video out of it. But that's the corporate entrepreneur in me that, listen,
No,
there's
but
a little bit
there's nothing wrong with that perspective, though.
There's nothing wrong with any perspective. And that's something that I get number two, just because it's my perspective.
And don't give away your shit for free. We're all doing the same thing. Let me get my camera. Huh?
Right.
Here you are posting, you're getting paid to do your body is your work, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing these parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's is it to allow people to enjoy art and have a good time? Yes, but it's also to fucking put some money in your wallet so you can like eat and such like that,
Absolutely.
And whether you want to admit it or not, we like to vent on this thing, but it is to keep the wheels in motion, right? Like, I know you probably less than me are not interested in making a buck with stuff, but
I think that you're looking at it from a different perspective. I look at it as
resources.
My point is how much energy do you need in order to feel complete? I'm not saying don't go for your money. I'm just saying
get your money, man.
If you're doing that to feel more complete, I don't think it doesn't matter how much you get. If you think something outside of you is what's going to bring you your as a being,
right,
I don't think you'll ever find it, because you're training yourself to think outside of you for that answer, when the only way to really get that answer is to be good with now, no matter what the fuck is going on. Right. Whether or not my business works, whether or not it doesn't. That does not mean I'm not going to make my plans and put myself in the right state to get it popping.
No,
I'm just not putting the value in myself if it happens or not. I'm already dope today. I don't give a fuck what none of y'all niggas say. Or, sorry to say the N-word. I'm kicked off of YouTube.
I'm offended.
But I don't mean y'all specifically, but
yeah.
Because all the other shit that I would be worried about, your opinion or somebody else's opinion, is of the mind, which is a different entity in me that I can't control anyway.
Right.
So can't control.
You interact with it, but you can't control it.
Right. You can interact with it. You can. It's like a dance almost. It's your ego, right? You can dance with your ego.
But see, you're in a state of interacting, and that's the thing too. You're in a state of interacting with other egos, if you will, most of the time, unless you're not. And even with your physical, that can be part of the ego because it's something that's, you know, from the past that's already here, or it's your presence, like, you know, things that you can't control. But like when you're in a float tank state of mind, there is nothing. There is no body. There's no physical touch. There's nothing. So that's when you're only really in a state of just presence of mind.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like the true presence of mind.
That's the best way to get there, to feel it. I think it's good to
you can't feel wind even. Like nothing's making you think about anything. It's just you.
No information at all.
You know what I mean? So that's a whole different, but we're not in that state a lot of times. So that's like.
But you can still tap into it by focusing on yourself.
Right.
It'll never get as deep as that because it's created to close off your senses.
Right.
But you can still tap into it by just
forms
again when you're in line, little form, just like what you're doing when you're doing the modeling.
Yeah.
You're present a lot of that. I guarantee you are. And
it's funny because when I go through pain points, sometimes and I feel like damn, I was this is 4 minutes in, but this one is kind of little something. I'll focus on my breathing. I'll tell my mind, just focus on your stomach breathing. Just boom. Boom. Just focus on the count of that. Next thing you know, 2 minutes up, I'm in the next pose. Okay, cool. And I learned my body's like what side I'm stronger on, what side I lean towards more. And I try to like work out those muscles more and shit. So it's
and then you have to be quiet during it too.
Yes, full.
And you can't is there a communication?
During my breaks and stuff like that.
Okay, but during the pose,
no, it was
quiet.
Typically no, but if it depends. Like if I'm doing sculpture, I can talk to the artist and shit like that.
But for the most part, it's
for the most part, it's just quiet.
Your mind staying still.
Yep,
that's vicious.
Yeah, for 25 minutes sets sometimes. For the most part,
that's such good. A lot of your time in your presence.
Yeah,
you have nothing. You can't do anything. I guess you can focus, but there's going to be times where you're going to have to focus on the presence because you feel it in your body.
Exactly,
and that's the way to do it is to feel the things that you feel your body.
So you don't mind that part of the presence then, like feeling your actual body in the presence of being and whatnot. Not necessarily
you'd have to feel
because I still focus on a lot of different things, but I just can't move. So like that part of my presence doesn't exist anymore. Like all I can do is.
So like, what will you be thinking about?
Everything, anything.
But sometimes
I still have my mind.
You'll breathe.
Well, no, but so it's different. Let's say if I have like the other day I had I challenged myself to a 45-minute pose because I just was timing shit out. But it was in a chair, it was comfortable. I made sure nothing was gonna go numb, but I'm still staring one spot for 45 minutes. You know what I mean?
That's meditation, bro.
Absolutely. That's what I mean.
And that's deep meditation.
But then I have poses where let's say I'm doing a 5-minute pose and I'm gonna be a little more acrobatic with this one. But then that toe start to get a little more. Now I gotta really let me just focus on being still. Be present with your breathing. You know, don't focus on the muscle or let the muscle like kind of shift or something like that. So it's a lot of being present with your mind physically or with your body physically and like solving pain points little by little.
Would you say that during that you have like that you're not a part of that, like you're not in control of your mind?
I think my mind
and all my fault. Let me rephrase that. In all the sessions that you've done, have you been able to gather through all those sessions? If you go back and think about it, were you controlling most of those thoughts or not?
I think let me see. I think I was controlling my mind. See, it's different with the modeling. Okay, the pain point that I would have in that wouldn't necessarily be my mind. My mind, it's like, okay, I'll say this. It does hurt me sometimes because let's say I have something like my thighs going crazy. And the muscle is actual pain point, but my mind can tell me to quit, but it's my job to hold this pose. So it's like your mind is like saying, "Dear, quit. This is painful. You got to give up." But I know the time. Right. Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. So you realize that you have the control. Like it's a different entity.
Yeah.
Because your mind telling you no, trying to keep you safe.
My mind, right? My mind is like, "Dear, this is a pain point."
But the essence inside of you says, "Keep going," because you know the wisdom. You know.
Right. I know that I have to do this because I want to do this until this time goes out until I hit that buzzer. And I literally.
That's presence.
Right. Being present with your mind through the pain.
Right. And he actually says that because people say, "Well, what if I have terminal cancer and I'm sick or da 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 da?" And he's like, I get that, but you can literally use that. And if you focus on that pain, you can transmute that energy into a feeling of the now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I do pretty much. Like and sometimes I'll get into a state where I'll kind of want to feel a little pain because it'll make me feel alive. So sometimes I'll have a choice of having heaters on me, and I can have the heaters blasting and all that stuff. But sometimes I want the room to be a little cold so that I can feel a little discomfort, so I can feel like alive a little bit. I can feel a little tension, and it's kind of weird.
Good.
But yeah, no, I like it. I like it so I can feel a little tension. I can feel like because I'm staring already right here. Let me feel something while I'm present.
Seems like, your brain is what's up, man. Hey, D, tell them where they can find you, man.
Prettycoolposes.com. Actually have sip and draw parties that I'm starting up for the peoples. Any type of fun parties you want to have coming up. Springtime, specifically spring and summer, we're gonna get it lit. So you get a nude model of myself, art supplies, and a nice time. It's gonna be a vibe. Prettycoolposes.com.
I see you, boy.
Thank you.
So plush. Tom, where can they find you, man?
You can find us at ChicagoPodcast.studio, baby.
Hey.
And I got no sipping party strolls, nothing really in the works. It's
What if somebody hit you up with some money and they say, hey, Tom,
I would have sipped and draw you.
We'll give you $3,000 to do a sipping party.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Hell yeah.
If you got $3,000, got $3,000, like a small thing, right?
No, big thing. It's real
5
big.
to 10.
Real big.
5 to 10 now. See, I mean,
be thick.
Nah, listen. But $3,000, I mean,
hell yeah, you would.
Yeah, no photos, obviously, but yeah.
You get one photo with the model, by the way.
Oh, all right. Well,
it's different now?
Naked?
Yeah,
not necessarily.
Okay, I don't
you
want
can be in your underwear.
No, but what I'm offering is naked.
For $3,000? Chris, I'll do it for you for $3,000.
$3,000.
If you want to hire me.
$2,000.
Huh? Yeah. But you want the photo?
The photo costs a little bit.
Right. It costs a little bit.
Because it lasts forever, bro. I know it lasts now. It's always photos in the present all the time. You know?
My dick is always out, so.
I know.
Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me at caresnone.com. Everything's there. My link tree is on there.
Hey. Nice.
Got some new products up. Thank you. Shout out to those of you who've already got some. You can set up a coaching call with me. A lot of people have been inferring about that. So I gave you an apparatus, so to speak, to do that. When the first person asked, I didn't have it set up. And I was like, damn.
Fucking rookie.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, total rookie.
Can't do shit.
Shout out to the CARESNONE Nation. There's over 100-something thousand of y'all. 100-something thousand. I see you.
Stand up.
And find me anywhere at Chris CARESNONE.
Hey.
And as always,
CARESNONE.
Yeah.